Most people are not blocked by lack of effort, lack of talent, or lack of opportunity. They are blocked by waiting, waiting for proof, waiting for permission, waiting for a sign that the world approves of their desire before they allow themselves to move. Waiting is the most subtle form of disbelief because it assumes that reality must speak first, and only then may you respond. Yet life has never worked that way. Reality does not announce itself and ask for your consent. It mirrors you, it echoes you, it rearranges itself according to the position you have already taken within. To wait is to confess inwardly that you do not believe it is yours yet, and the world, obedient to your inner confession, delays accordingly. Understand this clearly: nothing comes to confirm belief. Belief comes first and confirmation follows. The moment you truly grasp this, waiting becomes unnecessary, even illogical. Why wait for what must respond to you once you have decided? The greatest misunderstanding is that action creates reality. Action does not create reality. Assumption does. Action merely follows assumption naturally. When a person knows something is already theirs, they do not strain, they do not beg, they do not chase. They move differently. They speak differently. They choose differently. They live from a quiet certainty that does not need applause. When you act as if it is done, you are not pretending. Pretending is hollow. Acting as if it is done is an inner settlement. It is the calm acceptance that the decision has already been made and cannot be undone. It is not fantasy, it is alignment. Look at how you behave when something is truly settled. You do not rehearse arguments, you do not scan for threats, you do not ask others for reassurance. You rest, you proceed, you make room for it. This is the state that creates results. The world does not reward longing. Longing keeps something perpetually in the future. The world responds to embodiment. It responds to the version of you who is already standing where the desire ends. That version does not wait. Waiting feels safe because it postpones responsibility. If you wait, you can blame circumstances, you can blame timing, you can blame others. Acting as if it is done removes all excuses. It declares inwardly, "This is mine now, therefore I must live accordingly." That declaration terrifies the old identity because it requires a complete shift of self-concept. Most people want change without transformation. They want results without becoming the one who naturally receives them. But the outer world cannot contradict the inner image you hold of yourself for long. If you see yourself as someone who is still hoping, still chasing, still proving, then reality will keep you in rehearsal mode. Rehearsal never becomes performance. Acting as if it is done means you stop rehearsing. You perform from certainty. This does not mean reckless behavior or forced confidence. It means internal agreement. It means you no longer ask, "When will it happen?" Because that question belongs to the version of you who doubts. The version who knows does not ask when. They act from the assumption that the timing is already arranged. Notice how different your breathing becomes when you assume something is done. The body relaxes, the mind quiets, urgency dissolves. This is not coincidence. The body responds to belief before the world does, and the world follows the body. People think they must feel excited or euphoric to be in alignment. That is false. The dominant feeling of fulfilled desire is neutrality and peace. Drama belongs to lack. Calm belongs to possession. When you act as if it is done, you withdraw emotional dependence from the outcome. This is the paradox. The less you need proof, the faster proof appears. The more you chase confirmation, the more you confess absence. Ask yourself honestly, how would I move through today if this were already resolved? How would I speak to people? What choices would I stop postponing? What tolerances would disappear? What standards would rise? Those answers are not theoretical, they are instructions. Most people sabotage themselves not through negative thinking, but through contradictory living. They say they believe, but they live like it might fail. They say they trust, but they keep checking. They say they know, but they keep asking. Reality responds to the lifestyle, not the words. When something is done, you do not keep explaining it. You do not keep visualizing it desperately. You do not keep affirming it from fear. You let it be. Acting as if it is done does not mean inactivity. It means inspired movement rather than anxious effort. It means your actions are no longer designed to force an outcome, but to express an identity. A person who knows they are valued does not beg for attention. A person who knows they are abundant does not hoard. A person who knows they are chosen does not compete. These behaviors are not techniques, they are consequences of assumption. The moment you stop waiting, you stop splitting yourself into two versions, the one who wants and the one who lives. Wanting collapses into being, and being is magnetic. Life cannot resist coherence. When your inner decision and outer behavior agree, events must reorganize. Delay exists only where there is contradiction. Understand this deeply. You are not here to convince the world. You are here to decide. Decision is final internally before it ever becomes visible externally. Waiting implies that something outside you has authority. Acting as if it is done places authority back where it belongs. You may say, but what if I act and nothing happens? That question itself reveals the assumption. You are still negotiating. Acting as if it is done removes the what if. It is not an experiment, it is a position. When a door is truly closed, you stop knocking. When something is truly yours, you stop asking. When you truly know, you stop arguing with doubt. The world tests consistency, not intensity. One dramatic moment of belief followed by weeks of doubt cancels itself. Quiet persistence in assumption is what shapes outcomes. This is why impatience delays results. Impatience says, it should have happened by now, which is another confession of absence. Acting as if it is done has no timeline anxiety because it is no longer trying to arrive. It has arrived inwardly. You are not rewarded for effort. You are rewarded for alignment. Think of the times in your life when things unfolded effortlessly. You did not force them, you expected them. Expectation is not hope. Expectation is agreement. When you act as if it is done, you stop rehearsing conversations that have not happened. You stop scanning for signs. You stop measuring time. You become present. And presence is the soil where outcomes grow fastest. The reason many people feel exhausted is because they are living in two realities at once. One they desire and one they keep validating through fear. Acting as if it is done collapses this division. It simplifies life. Simplicity is power. You do not need to control every step. You need to control your state. From the right state, the right steps appear naturally. Trying to micromanage the process only proves you do not trust the decision. Trust is not passive. Trust is settled. When you stop waiting, you stop asking permission to be who you already decided to be. You stop shrinking until circumstances expand. You expand first. The outer world is slow. Out to change only when the inner world keeps changing its mind. Decide once, live consistently, and let reality catch up. Acting as if it is done may feel uncomfortable at first, because it threatens the identity built around struggle. If you are no longer striving, who are you? If you are no longer waiting, what excuses remain? This discomfort is not danger, it is transition. Do not retreat from that feeling. It is the feeling of alignment stabilizing. You do not need signs, you are the sign. The moment you stop waiting, life speeds up, not because time changes, but because resistance dissolves. Things move when you stop standing in your own way. This is not about blind optimism. It is about conscious authorship. You are not hoping the story improves. You are writing from the ending backward. Live as though the chapter has already turned. Speak as though the decision is irreversible. Choose as though the identity is fixed. And then, without strain, without force, without chasing, you will notice something undeniable. The world begins to agree. Not because you convinced it, but because you finally stopped arguing with yourself. Stop waiting. Act as if it's done. And let life do what it has always done best. Follow your lead. And as you live from this settled position, you may notice moments where the old habit of waiting tries to return. It will whisper that you should pause a little longer, that you should see one more sign, that you should protect yourself from disappointment. This voice is familiar because it once kept you safe. But safety and creation do not come from the same place. Creation requires decision, and decision requires faith in your own authority. Do not fight that old voice. Simply refuse to obey it. You do not need to argue with doubt. You outgrow it by no longer consulting it. Acting as if it is done is not loud defiance, it is quiet independence. There will be moments when the outer world still reflects delay. This is not failure, this is momentum adjusting. Reality lags behind assumption the way an echo follows a sound. If you shout once and then grow silent, the echo fades. If you remain consistent, the echo grows stronger until it fills the space. Most people quit in this interval. They misinterpret delay as denial, but delay only means you are ahead of your reflection. Stay there, do not walk backward to meet the past. When you act as if it is done, you stop seeking emotional reassurance from people, conditions, or circumstances. You become internally sourced. This is why your presence changes. Others feel it. Opportunities align. Conversations shift. Doors open without explanation, not because you demanded them, but because you no longer contradicted them. The inner world always moves first. The outer world follows reluctantly at first, then suddenly, then completely. What looks like coincidence is simply alignment reaching visibility. Do not measure progress by what has appeared yet. Measure it by how little you react. Reactivity belongs to waiting. Composure belongs to knowing. When something is done inwardly, rejection loses its power. Delays lose their sting. Opinions lose their weight. You are no longer asking life to prove you right. You are allowing it time to agree. And agreement is inevitable when your position is stable. This is why you must guard your inner conversations. Speak to yourself as someone for whom the matter is settled, not with hype, not with force, but with naturalness. The tone of completion is ordinary, calm, almost unremarkable. Fulfillment feels normal once accepted. If your desire still feels dramatic, it is still distant. When it feels obvious, it is near. Acting as if it is done means you stop living on emotional credit. You stop borrowing happiness from the future. You allow yourself to feel at home now. And from that state, action becomes precise instead of frantic. You will notice that some paths lose their appeal. Some people drift away. Some habits fall off without effort. This is not loss. This is coherence forming. A fulfilled identity cannot sustain behaviors built around lack. Do not rush this shedding. Let it happen. The world rearranges fastest when you do not interfere. Remember, the question is never will it happen. The real question is, am I living like someone who knows it already has? Life answers the second question every time. Stay there. Remain faithful to the inner conclusion. Let the outer story catch up in it. Zone rhythm. As you remain faithful to this inner conclusion, you may find that time itself seems to behave differently. Days feel lighter, decisions feel simpler, the urgency that once drove you begins to dissolve, and in its place comes a quiet steadiness. This steadiness is not boredom, it is mastery. It is the natural posture of someone who no longer needs to chase outcomes, because outcomes respond to them. At this stage, the temptation is to look back and check whether anything has changed yet. Resist that impulse. Checking is a subtle form of waiting. It shifts your attention from being to monitoring. Monitoring implies uncertainty. You are not here to supervise reality. You are here to embody a decision. Acting as if it is done also means allowing life to surprise you with the way it fulfills the assumption. Attachment to specific routes is another disguise of doubt. When you know the destination is secure, you stop gripping the map. You let intuition guide you moment by moment, trusting that each step is coordinated. There is a confidence that comes from this trust that cannot be imitated. It is not bravado. It does not need validation. It speaks through restraint, through patience, through an unshakable sense of direction that others can feel even if they cannot explain it. You will notice that effort transforms. What once felt heavy now feels almost effortless, not because you are doing less, but because you are no longer pushing against yourself. Inner agra. Ement removes friction, and without friction, progress feels smooth. Sometimes the mind will attempt to revive old narratives, reminding you of past failures or unresolved experiences. These memories only have power if you re-enter them. Acting as if it is done means you do not relive the old story. You acknowledge it as a chapter that no longer defines the ending. You are not denying history, you are outgrowing it. The present moment becomes your proof, not because something dramatic happens, but because your response to life has changed. You are no longer negotiating your worth. You are no longer postponing joy. You are no longer waiting to arrive. From this state, you begin to notice synchronicities that feel natural rather than miraculous. They are simply the visible expression of inner order. When the inside is settled, the outside organizes itself with surprising precision. Acting as if it is done also sharpens discernment. You no longer say yes from fear or no from insecurity. Your choices reflect stability, and stability is magnetic. People trust it. Circumstances favor it. If doubt arises, do not panic. Doubt is not a sign of failure, it is a habit losing relevance. Habits fade when they are no longer fed. Return gently to the assumption, not with force, but with familiarity. Say inwardly, "This is already resolved," and continue with your day. The power is in continuation, not repetition. Eventually you stop reminding yourself altogether. The assumption becomes background truth. Like gravity, it no longer needs attention to operate. At that point, even the idea of waiting feels foreign, as though it belonged to someone you once knew but no longer are. And from here, life keeps moving, adjusting, unfolding, responding, meeting you at the level you have already claimed within, shaping events around the quiet certainty you now inhabit, carrying the momentum forward without strain, without announcement, without a final punctuation that declares completion, because completion was never meant to be a moment in the future, but a state you learn to live from continuously, naturally, as the only place from which creation ever truly flows. And living from this place, you begin to sense a subtle shift in how you relate to desire itself. Desire no longer feels like a lack calling out to be filled, but like a direction already chosen. It becomes guidance rather than hunger. You do not chase it, you follow it calmly, the way one follows a familiar road. You realize that impatience was never about time, but about trust. When trust settles, time loosens its grip. You stop counting days and start counting moments of alignment, moments when your reactions match the identity you have accepted. Those moments accumulate quietly, building a foundation stronger than visible proof. There will be times when the external picture seems unchanged, yet internally you feel unmistakably different. This difference is the real shift. The outer change is simply the echo, and echoes cannot be rushed. If you stay where you are inwardly, the sound must return. Acting as if it is done also refines your relationship with effort. You no longer overextend to compensate for doubt. You no longer underact to protect yourself from disappointment. Your actions find a natural proportion. They are enough. Enough effort, enough patience, enough courage. From this state, you stop asking whether you are doing it right. That question belongs to uncertainty. When the end is assumed, the middle takes care of itself. You participate without obsession. You may notice that fear still appears, but it no longer directs you. Fear becomes background noise rather than instruction. You acknowledge it and continue. This continuation is powerful because it signals to life that your decision is not dependent on comfort. As you remain consistent, the world begins to reflect back small confirmations, not to persuade you, but to match you. These confirmations are not meant to be clung to. They are mile markers, not destinations. If you cling to them, you slow yourself down. The deeper freedom comes when you no longer need confirmation at all, when the inner conclusion is enough, when you realize that peace is not the reward at the end, but the condition that allows the journey to unfold. Acting as if it is done also changes how you interpret challenges. Obstacles no longer mean stop, they mean adjust. They are not evidence against you, but part of the rearrangement. When the end is fixed, the path can curve without threatening the outcome. You stop dramatizing resistance. You stop personalizing delay. You move with flexibility, knowing that nothing is lost when the destination is secure. Eventually, the sense of separation between who you are now and who you thought you needed to become dissolves. You realize you were never waiting to become someone else. You were waiting to accept yourself in a new position. And from that acceptance, life continues to reorganize, not in one grand moment of arrival, but through a series of natural unfoldings that feel less like achievement and more like recognition, as though what appears was always on its way, simply waiting for you to stop standing at the doorway of doubt and step fully into the room of your own settled knowing, where movement continues, perception deepens, and the story carries forward without needing an ending to declare its truth. And as you continue to live from this settled knowing, you may notice that even your inner dialogue changes its rhythm. Thoughts become fewer, more deliberate. The constant internal commentary softens because there is less to negotiate. Decisions that once required overthinking now arise spontaneously, as if they were waiting for permission to surface. This is not impulse, it is alignment expressing itself without obstruction. You begin to recognize that much of what you once called effort was actually resistance disguised as productivity. You were trying to move forward while still holding on to the identity that doubted forward movement was possible. Acting as if it is done releases that tension. Movement no longer feels like pushing uphill, but like walking on level ground. You also become less reactive to the moods and opinions of others. When the outcome is no longer up for debate internally, external commentary loses its power to destabilize you. Praise does not inflate you. Criticism does not collapse you. You listen, you discern, and you move on. Stability replaces sensitivity. From this place, you stop waiting for the right mood to live fully. You no longer postpone joy until conditions improve. You stop telling yourself that peace will come later after something happens. Peace becomes the baseline, not the prize. And from that baseline, life feels more cooperative. You may observe that opportunities begin to appear in ways that feel almost casual. Not dramatic breakthroughs, but quiet openings. A conversation that leads somewhere unexpected. A decision that feels obvious in hindsight. A shift that would have gone unnoticed before, but now stands out because you are no longer distracted by doubt. Acting as if it is done also reshapes how you experience uncertainty. Uncertainty no longer feels like danger. It feels like space. Space for movement, for adjustment, for creative response. When the end is assumed, uncertainty cannot threaten it. It simply becomes part of the unfolding. At Tim, yes, you might feel tempted to explain your calm to others, to justify why you are no longer anxious, no longer rushing, no longer proving, but explanation is unnecessary. Your way of being speaks louder than words. Those who are ready will recognize it. Those who are not will misunderstand it. Neither requires correction. You begin to trust your timing more than external clocks. You sense when to move and when to pause without forcing either. Pauses no longer feel like stagnation, they feel intentional. Movement no longer feels risky, it feels natural. And through all of this, the most profound shift is subtle. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. You feel like you are participating with it, not controlling it, not fighting it, but moving in rhythm with it, allowing it to respond to the position you have already claimed inwardly, carrying the momentum forward through choices, perceptions, and reactions that continue to align, deepen, and unfold, without needing to reach a final statement, because the state itself keeps expressing moment by moment as the only evidence that was ever required. To bring this all together, understand this one simple truth: life is not waiting to decide what to give you. It is waiting for you to decide who you are. The moment you stop postponing that decision, everything else begins to move. You were never meant to live in anticipation, measuring time, scanning conditions, or negotiating with possibility. You were meant to live from decision, from inner certainty, from the calm authority of someone who already knows. When you stop waiting, you reclaim your power. When you act as if it is done, you step out of hope and into alignment. You no longer live at the mercy of appearances, you live from the cause behind them. And from that position, change is not forced, chased, or begged for, it is allowed. Let this be the shift you make today, not a dramatic vow, not a temporary surge of belief, but a quiet, unwavering choice to live as the one for whom the matter is settled. Walk as though the answer has already been given. Choose as though the path is already secured. Speak as though the story has already turned in your favor. Do not wait for life to catch up before you move. Move and let life follow, because the moment you stop waiting and act as if it's done, you are no longer asking reality for permission. You are leading it,